in April, Simon actually came on the show and was making a comment about Rudiger's situation and his deal. And 25th of April, so you can look at it. I actually have got it on me. So he went and said that Rudiger was being very, very greedy because he was getting paid a £10 million signing on fee, and his advisors, let's say, were getting £10 million to go wherever they were going. But let's break it down now, because you're all very intelligent people here. Yeah, you did.
Or did I repeat something that was written somewhere else?
Whatever you said it on the radio, and you said it was absolutely greedy. That's what you said.
We are talking the transfer window, transfer deadline day, and the role of representatives. The role of players' agents. I'm delighted to say a man who represents a number of footballers in the world of football right now. His clients range from Antonio Rudiger to Lucas Paqueta. He is Saif Rubie, and he joins us live here in studio. Saif, good morning to you.
Good morning, Jim. Just to correct you on there, I'm an intermediary, so
Let me take a note of that. Intermediary. What, you don't like being called an agent?
No, because I make deals happen. So at the end of the day, I'm the person that gets involved in a deal to facilitate a deal, be it for the buying side, the selling side, sometimes the player side. So these things are, need to be made clear.
But that's what an agent does, is it not?
I'm not specifically a player's agent. So an agent, in what you were saying, was as a player's agent.
Okay.
And in every deal, there's different sides that are involved, which sometimes the media don't seem to, get that right.
Okay. Mr. Jordan's view of agents, of representatives, not across the board, Simon, but you're critical of many of them because of the way they go about their business. So, Saif, let me throw this at you. It's a reputation of, dare I say it, agents, representatives of players in the game. Is the reputation a bad one? Is that an unfair representation of what you do?
Well, look, let's use the actual correct terminology that's used even with the FA, which is intermediary.
Intermediary.
Let's start with that. Would you agree, Simon?
I'm ambivalent about whether we use terminology agent, intermediary, wall and a wallpaper merchant. I'm ambivalent about it.
No problem. So go on, Jim, tell me.
Okay, so do you feel that as an intermediary you guys are given a bad rep by people like ourselves, by even like someone like Simon, that you're all rolled into one?
I mean, I definitely agree with that. I mean, unfortunately, look, the game has changed a long way from when people like Graham used to play, and time before you. The money in the game has gone up exponentially. Commercially, the game has increased massively. So the truth of the matter is, in any form of business, whether you're a sports intermediary, whether you're an arms dealer, there's a lot of money involved in the game. So the reality is the money is involved in, brokering these deals that you're talking about are going to be very high.
Well, let's get into the specifics of it, and if you can, be as honest as you can, say.
For sure, no problem. That's what I'm here for.
You represent Rudiger.
I don't represent Rudiger. I was the intermediary involved in bringing Rudiger to Chelsea Football Club.
Well, you got the deal done.
100%.
So he went from Chelsea and he's ended up at Real Madrid. Many Chelsea fans would say, wish he'd stayed. And he was offered a potload of money to stay, was he not?
Do you want to know really what happened?
Yeah.
Amazing. So, actually, this was one of the reasons I wanted to come here, because our honourable friend in front of me, Simon, I actually picked up a...
I'm getting a legal title now, am I?
Of course. I have to. Come on, I have to address you correctly. So in April, Simon actually came on the show and was making a comment about Rudiger's situation and his deal. And he said that, and 25th of April, so you can look at it. I actually have got it on me. So 25th of April, he went and said that Rudiger was being very, very greedy because he was getting paid a £10 million signing on fee, and his advisors, let's say, were getting £10 million to go wherever they were going. So let's break it down now, because you're all very intelligent people here. Yeah, you did.
Or did I repeat something that was written somewhere else?
Whatever you said it on the radio, and you said it was absolutely greedy. That's what you said, and I've got it on there.
Probably avaricious, more likely.
Anyway, so let's put it. Let's break it down. So a £10 million signing on fee is usually broken across the period of the contract. So that's 4 years. 4 years, 10 million is 40 grand a week. That's number one. Number two, let's hypothetically say, because like you said, you were only commenting from what you were making a comment based on what you read, apparently. So
Well, I didn't make
10
it,
million.
did I?
So 10 million. So 10 million was a fee mentioned. Let's say it's even 10 to 15 million, Graham.
Was that true?
Well, let me just carry on, please. Now, obviously, the transfer window is just finished.
Yeah.
Now, Antonio Rudiger, over the last 18 months, has been one of the best, if not the best defenders in the world in the Premier League, which made Carlo Ancelotti, who, again, is the most decorated manager in world football right now, and I hope that none of us are going to dispute or argue with that,
Right.
wanted to make him go and play for Real Madrid. Now, what is the value of a top-flight, top-level centre-half in the game right now, Simon?
I don't know. But
I'm asking you.
But I don't know if you want to frame this conversation in a direction that you want to take it, or if you want to give it the context that I was probably most likely to have given it.
Well,
and
the
the context I was most likely to have given it was to frame the fact that the opportunity was engineered by people like you, I suspect, that trade in the margins on the basis of a free transfer being more beneficial for the player than being attached to a club and signing a new contract.
So what if I told you that Chelsea and the old regime basically made absolutely next to no effort to actually keep the player, and he was at the time was very, very happy to stay and potentially be the captain of the club, and he was offered a contract that was half the amount of what players like Romelu Lukaku were earning. And you're talking about trading in the margins. I would have said in the context of the argument that you're trying to bring me into, when people were talking about Antonio Rudiger and the endeavours of the club, I clearly made the point that clearly the club didn't want him, because if they'd have wanted him, they'd have done more. So you've got to get context to what you're saying. So there you go. So if, in what you're saying, they didn't want him, is a value of 10 million, let's say hypothetically, a lot of money?
Well, it depends whose eyes you're looking at it through.
No. In the eyes of the club. In the eyes of the club.
Well, I can't speak for them, can I?
Well, you can, because you owned a football club before.
It's not my bloody club, so how can I speak for
Listen,
them?
you owned a football club. If you were told you can have an asset worth 70 million, 80 million in the current market, and you could get it for around 10, 15 million,
you would say that was good business.
Would you say that's a good deal?
You would say that was good business.
Thank
absolutely.
you very much.
But the context is everything, because clearly the value of the players and the beauty of the eye is in the beholder, isn't it? So with that
And the
in mind,
beholder are the clubs.
Well, clearly they didn't value that, did they?
Well, can I tell you something? Can I tell you something to that? So the new regime, who obviously had to come and pick up the pieces of decisions that was made by the old regime, things like letting the lad go to Crystal Palace, who was also a defender, letting another defender go for not a lot of money to AC Milan, who's become a very, very good defender. Mm-hmm. When I actually spoke to the new regime, and I said to them, actually, the old regime cost you 100 million. You know what they said to me? More.
Well, I'm glad you're sidling up to those people. I'm surprised you aren't, because bottom lining it, if you're looking at what they're doing at this moment in time, which is firing cannons of cash around, I would be amazed if you aren't sidling up to them.
I can't comment on the deals they've done. I'm just telling you on a transaction that I was involved in.
The Rudiger, you're saying it was 10 million over 4 years. That's on top of his salary.
A signing on fee, Graham, is all in. So whatever the salary is, so say for example, a club was going to pay, I don't know, 5 million a year salary to a player, hypothetically speaking. They would say, okay, do you want to have your 5 million a year, or do you want to have 4 million?
He knows how signing
ons
works, for crying out loud.
No, he asked a question, so I was just saying.
But he's asking, is it on top of some big fat inflated salary?
So the 10 million was on top of the salary?
I didn't first confirm any figures. I was just saying, hypothetically speaking.
So, but you see, you could hide it that way. You're saying...
We're talking about the value here. We're not talking about the salary.
You were making an argument.
If the player's getting...
You were making an argument. Let me finish. You were making an argument. There was the 10 million over 4 years, where the players were 70 million, but that's excluding the salary. So the salary could be...
The salary is a normal salary. So just so you know, guys, so let me confirm this live on air. The Real Madrid deal was the smallest deal on offer. There was a club in England that was offering almost double the amount. There was a club in Europe offering almost double the amount.
What was the club in England say?
I'm not going to discuss. This is all, obviously there was teams, everyone knew there was teams interested in his play, because again, he was one of the best defenders in the world.
So your point in all this is my observation was wrong, that he's greedy.
No, your observation was wrong. And how is he greedy?
Your point in all this little soliloquy, which is getting us to the square root of nowhere, is that you want to make a point with me that my observation about him...
Totally wrong.
So it's not that then. So what you brought it up for then?
I said your observation was totally wrong.
But I'm agreeing with you. Agreeing with you. Your point in all this, that we've learnt very little from, is that I made an observation about a player getting a £10 million signing on fee, which is which you seem to think is not a significant amount of money, but that's in the la-la land that you probably live in, with the fact you think the footballer should be getting this kind of money, full stop. Your point is, after 10 minutes, you've corrected me on the fact that I think Antonio Rudiger was greedy. Job done then.
Perfect.
I still think he's greedy. I still think there's avarice in the game, and I still think people like you are the worst thing upon it, but that's a different discussion.
No problem. You can think what you want to think.
How would you come back from that, Saif? I mean, after the break, we'll talk about the image of intermediaries. But as you can take it from Simon, your image is not a good one. Is that something that you want to clarify today? Is that something that you want to say, hang on a second, in our defence, there are many good ones and I'm one of them? Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, I mean, look, again, I'm not going to start, I'm not a person to call out names and things like that, but unfortunately, you know, this business, like any business that has a lot of money in it, has a lot of bad people that, for whatever reason, shouldn't be in that business.
And maybe Simon's had to deal with many whose reputation is poor, and look, justifiably so.
And look, unfortunately, I don't know which intermediary Simon had wrapped around him when he was owning Crystal Palace.
Kept them all at arm's length.
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't with you, so I couldn't really help you in the right way. But the truth and reality of it is, and it is just my personal opinion, you have a lot of big agencies right now in the world of football that have a lot of players signed up, 100, 200, 300 players. And the truth of the matter is, those players are signed up like a conveyor belt, like a meat market.
For 2 years.
And for me, that's why when Jim was talking about, we started off the conversation, I was like, listen, firstly, my job is to find the best way of doing a transaction that can benefit everybody in the best possible way. So like I was saying to you, Simon, you know, we were talking about Rudiger just as an example. The reality is, you know, Chelsea or the previous owners of Chelsea, for whatever reason, didn't see value in keeping him on. Many clubs saw a huge value in taking him.
That's right.
So in your defence, you would say my job is to get the best for my client, and as his intermediary, maybe not necessarily the best outcome financially, but the best deal.
Yeah, I mean, look, in this scenario, just to give you an example, for Chelsea, let's just talk about Chelsea because that's what Simon said. The player, when Real Madrid wasn't coming in for him, you know, when Paris Saint-Germain, when Juventus, when all the clubs, and you know, this was all public knowledge, he was very happy to stay at Chelsea. You know, and if you ask every single Chelsea fan right now, I would confidently think more than 80% would be happy that he would have stayed.
Many messages coming in. You can say what you want, Mr. Rubie. Money grabbers. That's what you lot are. Money grabbers. That I'm seeing time and time again that you're in this for the best financial deal you can get out of it. Now, Saif, during the break here, and I'm not being naughty, I heard you say it, I'd back myself against anyone else in the world of intermediaries in football to get the best deal done. Is that true?
Best deal done for whoever I'm working with. So if it's for the club, I'll do my best to get the best deal done for the club. If I'm working for the player, yes. If I'm working for a selling club, yes. And at the end of the day, I've done it. You know, you're talking about for example, the Lucas Paqueta deal. You know, I was involved helping West Ham and Lyon, which is his club, do the deal. West Ham United ended up getting a player which normally they would never have been able to get. And in fact, they weren't even thinking they were going to be able to get. And there was...
But presumably they got him because, to everyone's surprise, they went to 51 million to get him.
Well, 51 million, which is the fee quoted, isn't the actual guaranteed money that they've paid for him. And again,
what have they paid for him?
Again, I'm not going to... That's a confidential
but why?
amount.
Why?
More or less.
Huh?
More or less.
Less than that. So the point I'm trying to tell you is they were able to structure a deal because of intermediaries like myself. And actually, the intermediary that was able to help and support this whole deal was Barry Silkman. And Barry Silkman was able to, you know, basically put something together with West Ham that West Ham were comfortable and happy to pay. Lyon were happy because, to be honest, at the end of the day, and the chairman of Lyon was quoted, no one else in the end came and put hard cash down, so they had to do the deal.
In your job, have you met Paqueta?
Of course.
Well, I was there. I was making your job sound like you're
No. So
you're on the edge of this.
So sorry.
Have you been involved in deals where you've never met the player involved?
So I'll tell you, this is why I was trying to say to Jim, I work differently. So depending on who I'm working on, I always try and do extra work to know about the player, to know the character, to know the people involved in the deal, to know the intermediaries representing the players. Because the reality is a lot of football clubs, for example, all they're going to do is sit in a data room, look at analysis, watch videos and say, we want to sign this player. Then they'll go into the transfer market and say, oh, this is the agent of this player. The reality is, because football is such a human business, there is such emotional, personal feelings. There's players that cannot handle.
So you've met every player you've been involved with?
Yes, I have. And I make it my business to be able to give an informed decision on the character of a player because, you know, at the end of the
so
day...
you should. That's the business you're in.
There you go.
You made the same observation, and I don't care either which way, whether you did or you didn't, but you made the same observation about Michael Edwards. And you made this observation that all he did was be a data analyst and had no understanding of anything other than that.
Liverpool.
And you take a player out of Liverpool and you put him into well, not you because you're no longer there. He's now in the third tier of Spanish football. So with your advice and your guidance, the player that you looked after in that instance, being the young kid Bobby Duncan, his career has gone where?
So let me tell you on that situation, because again, you know, to be honest, I don't want to, at the time, we agreed to kind of disagree, but the reality is, for whatever reason, Liverpool didn't want to let the player go out on loan to play first team football. They didn't want to give him a contract. They didn't want to let him go. Basically, I don't know what it was. And again...
Well, if they didn't want to give him a contract, he'd be out of contract, wouldn't he?
But they didn't want to let him go out on loan to play first team football.
Which is their gift, yeah?
Like I said, the point is the player was a young player who wasn't happy there and wanted to leave. Now, at the time, like I told you, I was tasked by working for the player.
But his outcome is to be in the third tier of Spanish football.
That outcome has nothing to do with me.
Well,
I did my job.
But it surely
But that's
should
an
be
outcome.
safe.
No, because...
For those who don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, Saif courted controversy in 2019 around this lad Bobby Duncan at Liverpool, and you accused the club, Saif, of bullying and mentally destroying Duncan days before a move was sealed to Fiorentina, a 3-year deal. You were critical on Twitter of the Liverpool board, and you claimed that Duncan, quotes, will never go back to Liverpool again. My only concern now is his mental health and well-being. And now he's in the third tier.
Well, like I said,
of Spanish football. Is that right?
Like I said, I don't like to talk dirty laundry out in the public, because at the end of the day, what went on behind the scenes at the time, and like you said you mentioned Michael Edwards there, Simon. I can't tell you the reason.
But did you say that on Twitter?
No, I said that because it was the truth.
You accused Liverpool of bullying and mentally destroying Duncan.
It was the truth.
What good did that do for Duncan?
Nobody. It didn't. And this is the point I'm trying to tell you. The problem with football clubs, when they have assets, which are players, that for whatever reason are not happy where they are, they seem to more often than not hang on to them for dear life. Me, I'm in the business of football. If I've got
you're in the business of moving players around and creating opportunities. I'll give you an example to contradict your view about what football clubs do and don't think. Right? You've moved a player. The outcome is no longer of an interest to you because his players have no commercial use to you now because his career has gone the way it's gone. I had a young player at Crystal Palace called John Bostock who was loved and adored.
I know
by
John
this
very well.
Yeah, loved and adored by this football club. And I spent a lot of time with a 15, 16-year-old boy, far more time than a chairman should actually spend with a 15, 16-year-old boy in terms of trying to convince him that his future with Crystal Palace. What he had was someone like you in his ear that created a different set of outlooks. So he went off to Tottenham and took his career and flushed it. And now we have a boy that had all the opportunity in the world, and the people that were around him at the time are no longer there because he's no longer of any use to them anymore. And it would seem a similar situation manifested itself for this young boy, Bobby Duncan, because the outcome is this. You're there telling him what the challenges you've got, falling out of Liverpool Football Club, creating nothing but ill will. The boy's career now, because everyone's got to be in an outcome. You're going to get your outcome, that's for damn sure. However a deal gets done, you get your outcome. But the consequences are human consequences in terms of a young boy that's got no benefit out of this now whatsoever. And you were in the middle of this.
So can
and
I
rather
tell
than provide a resolution,
so can I tell you
made a
something?
problem.
So
So maybe Saif, we're the best one in the world. Bobby Duncan might have been better advised getting a different intermediary.
Yeah, but it might end up being nothing anyway.
Can I tell you something? In that particular case, I actually advised him to stay at Liverpool. And you have to understand one thing. This is what I was trying to tell you guys. My job is to do the best job I can of whoever is telling me to help them, be it the player, being a buying club, being a selling club. In that particular instance, Simon, and like I said to you, you can choose to believe me or not, I thought him staying at Liverpool and sticking it out was the best outcome. It wasn't meant to be, and then in the end, unfortunately, it got a bit ugly with Liverpool, which is unfortunate.
Liverpool would refute what you're saying quite obviously, Saif. You happy to do another part with us, the other side of the bulletin that's coming up?
Of course, why not?
Because we'll talk about, I mean, I think we are reading one thing, Simon, it is still something of the Wild West out there, isn't it? And regulation is something that needs to be brought in, Safe. You'd back that?
I'm all for regulation. Look, at the end of the day, unfortunately, in the world of business, there's always collateral damage. That is the reality of it. There's always a side of a deal that we're going to not feel as happy as they are about the outcome. And look, as an agent, I'll be honest with you, at the time,
as an
intermediary, at the time, everybody thought I was dead in the water. You know what? I'm still here. I'm still doing the biggest transfers in the transfer window, and I'm still doing my thing.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.